Hello humans, how are you doing this morning? It's ridiculously early. It's 9:20 in the morning, that's the middle of the night to me. But I'm off on a little excursion this morning. I'm doing a cinema trip. I'm going to see Moonfall, the new disaster movie, in every sense of the word, so some people say, by Roland Emmerich of Independence Day and Day After Tomorrow fame, and etc, etc. I just like that sort of nonsense. I don't suppose it's going to be very well reviewed critically, but I'm just in the mood for a couple of hours of things blowing up, which I think this is probably going to deliver. So I'm off to see the film. No boring video clips of motorway driving, because that's dull. And I'll say hello again when I get to the cinema. So there we are, kids. I've reached my destination, the Showcase Cinema in Nangarrow. Yep, so I'm here ready to see the 10 o'clock screening of the new Roland Emmerich disaster movie, Moonfall. I'm here a little earlier than I anticipated. It's a 10 o'clock screening, so it's going to be like 10:30 by the time it starts. It's just coming up to 10. I think it's about 5 to. A slight disappointment this morning. I hate disappointments, especially food-related ones. I'm quite partial to a Greg's bacon roll and hot drink bargain breakfast deal, which is about £2.30. It's quite a nice little snack. I was thinking I would get one on the way in this morning, but unfortunately it was too much of a queue. So I got in the queue. It wasn't moving. Only one person serving. I just don't do queues. I'm not a queue person. So I abandoned it. So I'm here a bit early. So I'm a bit... But never mind. Life goes on. I just think on the way down now, this is quite nice. It's 10 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to the cinema. It's one of the benefits of being... retired or a gentleman of leisure. I can just go to the cinema when I feel like it, hopefully miss the big crowds, and just not being a 9-to-5er anymore. It's been a few years now since I gave up full-time work, and yeah, it's nice to have that freedom to, like, yeah, this film's out this Friday, I'm going to go and see it early, and I'm looking forward to this film. I know it's going to be rubbish from the perspective of an artistic endeavour, but I don't expect that from these sorts of films. You know, this is a lineage that goes way back to the 70s with Poseidon Adventure and Towering Inferno, and they sort of got more and more spectacular special effects have developed over the years, and they're just good fun. You know, you just go in, sort of turn your brain down a little bit and just let it wash over you. That's what I'm in the mood for at the moment. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to head on in, signings, go do all the COVID passes and all that sort of stuff, and then get myself a nice coffee and sit and have some fun. So I'll be doing the review in the car when I finished. So I'll see you about 2 hours time. Hello there, well, I'm back. I'm in the cinema. I'm safely installed in my seat, H9. This hasn't happened to me in years, since I went to see the Harry Hill movie. God knows when. I was the only one in the cinema. And here we have it today. As you can see, there's not a soul in here apart from me. Which is quite nice. It's like having your own personal screening, but it's a bit weird. It doesn't particularly bode well, I suppose, for this film's box office potential. But it is 10 o'clock in the morning, and I say, that's one of the benefits of being a gentleman of leisure. You come and see films at 10 o'clock and have the cinema to yourself. I did my COVID sign-in, showed my ticket, and the guy said, I think you're the only one in. And he's right. So, as I say, got my coffee. I'm sat right in the middle of the cinema, because when I picked the seat, as you do online, I didn't really pick up on the fact that no other seats had been sold. I'm right in the middle, so I should get the full effect of all the wonderful visuals and sound quality of this marvellous award-winning movie. Right, so here I am in my own personal cinema. I'm used to being in my own personal cinema, but it's not normally quite this big. But yeah, the film's going to start shortly. We've got the background music playing, the most very funky So yeah, I'm looking forward to just having the cinema to myself. See you in a bit. Hello, well, I'm back again. It's now 10:35. I'm still in the cinema. I'm still drinking my latte. It's getting a bit tepid now. Nothing's happened yet. It's a 10 o'clock screening. Obviously, you expect adverts, trailers, 10:25, 10:30. But nothing's happened. There's still very nice music playing. Still here on my own. A nice lady from the cinema just popped in to say there was a technical problem, but they were getting the film started as soon as possible. There probably wouldn't be any trailers and adverts, well, I can cope with that. But we're now 10:35, so I'm beginning to wonder if the moon is going to fall for me this morning. We shall find out soon.
2 hours later.
Right, welcome back. I'm back in the car. I've just emerged from Moonfall. Wow, what can I say? I had a good time with it. I enjoyed it. It was, it was interesting and unusual to be in the cinema on my own, experiencing this thing. This is not a good film by any stretch of the imagination, but I did enjoy it because, as I said before I went in, as I suspected, it's one of those films where you just put your brain into neutral and just go with what is offered. This, as mentioned, is in that lineage of disaster movies that goes way back to the 70s and probably earlier than that. And more recently, we've had Day After Tomorrow, 2012, The Core, Independence Day, all those films which, by the magic of modern technology, the world can be destroyed in various creative ways thanks to digital effects and things. We get used to all that spectacle of buildings exploding and tidal waves and volcanoes and all this sort of stuff. And that sort of loses its luster a bit. We've seen it so much, it's hard to be awed by things like that. And there's nothing here that really made me go, wow. The basic idea of the film is that the moon is dropping out of orbit and is entering sort of an elliptical orbit, which is going to eventually cause it to disintegrate and bombard the Earth with fragments and destroy the world. It starts off with, it's got a good cast. Patrick Wilson, Halle Berry. They're doing their best with a terrible, terrible script. It is an awful script. John Bradley is the sort of comic relief character. It's that cliche of the outsider, the fat scientific bloke. Nobody believes him because he's weird and he lives with a cat. And he's a bit eccentric. It starts off with Patrick Wilson and Halle Berry and another guy are on a space mission 10 years ago. There's an accident, something emerges from the moon, sort of an energy force that causes one of the other astronauts to be lost in space. There's an inquiry. Patrick Wilson's character, Brian Harper, is discredited and he becomes, not exactly a down and out, but he's a faded astronaut living on past glories, doing lectures to kids in the Griffith Observatory. Halle Berry is she's now high up in NASA, and John Bradley is this bloke. He's a janitor, Casey Houseman. He calls himself Dr. Houseman. He's not really a doctor, and he's a megastructuralist, and he's discovered through his own scientific workings that the moon is actually a megastructure. It's hollow. There's something inside it. It transpires that there's an alien intelligence is at work. I mean, the science fiction idea behind this is actually quite interesting and quite clever. I won't go into that now, but it's quite nicely done. It's quite nicely, the exposition that explained it is quite cleverly done. But the whole film is the human side of it is so clunky. I mean, the character mechanics. Brian is separated from his wife. His young teenage son is a bit reckless, a bit woo, and he ends up in prison after a stolen car thing. Halle Berry is split up from her husband. The dialogue is so clunky and so. There are times when I was in the cinema and I was like groaning at how creaky it is. The spectacle. The space scenes are well done. I mean, that's obviously space scenes are sort of convincing, but some of the visual effects are either incredible or not very good. There's a lot of green screen, backgroundy stuff where people are in the foreground, things behind them. And it's so obviously bad green screen work. I mean, there's one terrible scene where Patrick Wilson's character climbs into a dumpster to try and retrieve these documents that Casey Houseman's given him that he's thrown away. And he's in this dumpster, and in the background the city is burning and there's helicopters flying. It just looks so green screen, so fake. And there's other scenes. Then there's a ludicrous scene where part of the storyline is that they have to mount a mission to go up to the moon to try and detonate a device that will destroy this alien thing. The alien thing which flies around is, if you've seen Doctor Who Flux, the series last year, it's like this wave of energy. It's an alien artificial intelligence thing. They have to go up to detonate an EMP device that will destroy it. And there's a scene where the launch pad is about to be swamped by this huge gravity tidal wave. And the wave is sweeping towards them, and the capsule is lifting off. Meanwhile, Brian's young son is driving away with Halle Berry's young son. And they're driving off, and they stop. And they watch the wave, and they watch and they're sort of looking at it, and it's there. And they get in the car, and they drive off. And it just looks... I mean, it's scientific. I mean, I'm not a scientist. I can barely spell the word science. But there's so much absolute implausibility about what happens in this. And there's even a scene at the end where somebody's driving a car. There's an earthquake, and they drive the car across the chasm, and the car bounces onto a chunk of earth that's been detached and then jumps on it. People leap. It's just the science. That stuff is just ludicrous and eye-rollingly bad. It's so cheesy, and it really is incredibly cheesy film. The dialogue is just so bad, but I still enjoyed it. I had a good time watching it because it is utterly brain off stuff. You don't go into this sort of stuff expecting Oscar-winning films. As I say, you don't expect an Oscar-winning script or performances. The cast do what they can with it, but it is ultimately, it's rubbish, absolute rubbish. But if you go in with the right frame of mind and say, right, just show me lots of crap, you will get something out of it. Where does it fit in the great pantheon of those sort of disaster movies? It does make me want to watch The Day After Tomorrow again, because that was one of the better of the more recent ones. So watch out for a retro movie review of that coming up quite soon, I would think. It's somewhere in the middle. It's sort of... So I quite like The Core. Core was a huge box office flop, but I quite enjoyed that. It sits around that sort of middling level, despite the spectacle and the ludicrousness of the whole thing. It's sort of good-natured, and you'll sort of... I can't hate it, although I should. I should hate it. I should detest it and say, this is awful. But I like these sorts of films. A lot of critics are very sniffy and go, oh, this is terrible, not proper filmmaking. I want a good time, and I like science fiction films, obviously. That's why there's so much of that sort of stuff on my channel. But this isn't good. This isn't good. There's good science fiction idea in the middle of it all, which has led to the situation. But the execution of it in terms of the script and some of the visuals is very poor. However, I did enjoy it, and I think if you go and see it in the right frame of mind, don't expect great dialogue and characterization. Expect back of the fag packet characters doing stupid things, eye-rollingly stupid, implausibly scientific stuff. You'll have 2 hours of fun with it. So I'm going to give it 6 out of 10. That's me and Moonfall. We're done. We're dusted. We're out of here. Interesting experience to go to the cinema and watch it with nobody else in there. Quite a nice experience, actually. So I might do more 10 o'clock screenings. That's me done for now. I will see you soon. If you've seen Moonfall, leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think of it, or if you're planning to see it. Like and subscribe and all that usual stuff, and I'll see you soon. But until I do, you know what they say. Keep taking stuff.